Good afternoon to you. 3:06 now. News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. Coming up on the program, Mike Davis joins us from the Article 3 Project at 3:30 with the jaw-dropping testimony today from Michael Cohen, the star witness of the left. What he admitted to and how it could change this entire trial. Gabriel Naronha is here at 4 o'clock, former State Department advisor during the Trump administration. He'll react to the death of the Iranian president. Went down in a helicopter this weekend. Gabriel has thoughts on that subject. Margot Cleveland is here at 4:30 as the left sets its sights on Supreme Court Justice Sam Alito. Margot has thoughts on that. And the lieutenant governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia, Winsome Sears, reacts to Joe Biden's demented speech to Morehouse College this weekend. A commencement address filled with lies. More on that in a moment. You can join us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. Yes, a great deal to get to today, including Michael Cohen admitting that he stole at least $60,000 from Donald Trump's business while he was supposedly working for them. $60,000. Did you steal from the Trump organization? Yes, I did. He sheepishly admitted on the stand today in front of the jury as they're trying to basically demonstrate to the jury this is a man with no credibility. And this idea that he's loyal to Donald Trump. I was just doing it out of loyalty. I'm so loyal to him. He's like a father to me. Really? So you stole $60,000 from him? It's not helping that case, is it? We'll get into the details on that coming up, but I want to start with Biden at Morehouse this weekend, Atlanta, Georgia, yesterday morning, giving what's supposed to be a commencement address. And normally a commencement address, I'll admit, for most people is a forgettable experience. You usually don't remember who your commencement speaker was or your high school graduation speaker was. You're vaguely familiar that you had one, but if they said anything, it was probably something encouraging. Like, hey, great job over the last 4 years. Now you have the rest of your life ahead of you. And hopefully you've learned something in the process. You know, that's about it, typically. But not for Joe Biden. No, for Joe Biden, this was a campaign event. This was him doing a form of pandering to black voters. That was kind of the goal here. Morehouse College, a historically black college and university, trying to convince black voters, not just in that audience, but across the country, that he's the guy to go with. You've got to go with him. The alternative is white supremacy, extremism, death, and destruction. That was the speech. It was a dark speech from Joe Biden. And it had all sorts of themes like this one. He brought up St. George Floyd. Take a listen to this.
You missed your high school graduation. You started college just as George Floyd was murdered. And there was a reckoning on race. It's natural to wonder if democracy you hear about actually works for you. What is democracy? If black men are being killed in the street, what is democracy? The trail of broken promises still leave black communities behind. What is democracy? You have to be 10 times better than anyone else to get a fair shot.
All right, let's go through some of the claims he just made there because I think these are important. What is democracy when black men are being killed in the street, he says, right after he references, of course, George Floyd. Now, the suggestion here, obviously, is a common trope on the left, but it's a falsehood. It is this idea that that unarmed black men are being gunned down in the streets of America by police. That's what President Biden is suggesting there. And as usual, if you're going to make a claim like that, it's helpful to assess the data on just how true it is. Is there any truth to this? Well, according to the Washington Post, which tries to keep and does keep a pretty prolific police shooting database, you can drill down and you can look at the specifics. How many unarmed black Americans, not just men, black Americans, women, children, men, have been killed by police, unarmed? And if you look back, let's go to 2016. That could be a good jumping off point. 20 people. 2017, 21. 2018, 22. 2019, 12. 2020, 18. 2021, 12. 2022, 13. 2023, 16 people. 16 black Americans, unarmed, killed by cops. And this year, so far in 2024, there have been, according to the Washington Post's database, three unarmed black Americans killed by police shooting this year. Now, who are these three? Three is a small number. We can pretty quickly go through them. Here are the three this year. The first is a 30-year-old man by the name of Rashad Graham. Rashad Graham. And according to the local news in Miami that reported on this, it was at Plantation, Florida was where it was based, but a Miami-based news outlet there. They reported that that Rashad Graham rammed a convenience store with his car. He rammed the gas station door over and over and over again, attempting to seize his fleeing girlfriend, who ran into the building and begged the clerk to barricade her within. Please protect me. The clerk barricading the fleeing girlfriend in a storage room in the back of the gas station as the boyfriend, Rashad Graham, rammed his vehicle into the front door over and over and over again. Now, where we begin in this story is, if you're using a car as a weapon, you are not unarmed. You are using it, it's a deadly weapon. And he's trying to smash his way into the building. He fails to get in with the car. He backs the car away and drives off with police now in hot pursuit. The cops eventually get a hold of him, and as they do, he reaches and grabs one of the officer's guns. Grabs the gun. Now, is that unarmed if you're grabbing the gun? Police at that point open fire, killing him. That's the story that they told. Now, of course, all of this is allegedly. This is how it's structured. But again, out of the three, we start with one that is not unarmed at all, but according to the Washington Post, they claim unarmed. Okay. The second story involves a 4-year-old boy who was killed by cops. His name is Terrell Marchand. Terrell Marchand. And this story, 25 News Now, is the news outlet. And they say a 4-year-old and a 57-year-old man who held the child at knife point were killed Saturday night in an officer-involved shooting near Western Illinois University. Illinois State Police released a statement Monday evening about their investigation so far into what was initially called as an incident of domestic violence in the 900 block of North Charles Street in Macomb. When Macomb police officers arrived at an apartment, they reported seeing blood and hearing screams. Macomb police say officers saw a man with a knife who refused to drop it. State police say the man ducked out of view of officers and came back into view holding a knife around the child's throat. Okay, a 4-year-old child, a 57-year-old man holding a knife to the boy's throat. Investigators say the Macomb officer fired one shot, and both the man and the child suffered fatal gunshot injuries. Now, that is awful. That is a tragic outcome to that story. But as you can determine from the local news coverage, the shot was fired in an effort to save the boy's life, and quite unfortunately took it. One shot fired, an attempt to stop the man who had taken the boy hostage, a knife to his throat. All right, that's the second unarmed black American killed this year by police. And then the third is a 46-year-old by the name of Raymond Huddleston. Raymond Huddleston. He was an inmate at the time of his death. According to local news outlet WBRZ, they say, this is Louisiana, according to a report, an inmate was shot and killed Wednesday morning after allegedly faking a seizure and trying to beat up the guards while being transported through West Feliciana Parish. According to a report by Louisiana State Police, Catahoula Parish deputies were transporting Raymond Huddleston, 46 years old, in a van from the Catahoula Correctional Center, that is, to Baton Rouge for a court appearance. State police said deputies stopped around 7 in the morning at a truck stop in St. Francisville when Huddleston began faking a seizure. When deputies opened the back door, they found Huddleston had broken out of his restraints. Troopers said he attacked the deputies and disarmed one of them. He disarmed, meaning seized the gun from. That's what disarmed means. Huddleston then jumped into the driver's seat of the van as he tried to leave, now driving the police van, the prisoner van. At least one deputy fired their gun into the van. State police say Huddleston was shot and killed. 2 deputies hurt in the ordeal were taken to the hospital for stitches. A second inmate in the van, not involved and uninjured. So in other words, a convicted sex offender faked a seizure in the back of a prisoner transport vehicle, assaulted and disarmed the police, and then hijacked the car before the cops opened fire. So now what I've listed for you now are 3, according to the Washington Post, unarmed black Americans killed this year by cops. 2 of them, it turns out, weren't actually unarmed. They were both armed in the course of of the interaction they had with police, grabbing at guns, disarming police, driving vehicles, using them as weapons. So the only unarmed black American killed here was the 4-year-old who had a knife to his throat, and a police officer, in an attempt to save his life, unfortunately took it. That's it. And so compare that to Joe Biden. Biden stands up on a stage at Morehouse College and tells the audience there that they are being hunted down in America. Black men are being killed in the street, said Joe Biden. What is democracy when black men are killed in the street? Biden, as he does, lied. It's a disgusting, divisive, destructive lie. A lie. Now, the whole audience wasn't going for what Biden was selling. There was first of all, the applause to me, I don't know if this is just a product of the microphones, didn't sound that enthusiastic at any point during Joe Biden's speech, if I'm being honest. We heard smatterings of applause during his remarks. Additionally, we saw students protesting him, who turned their backs on him, who refused to stand for him. Now, I didn't get a chance to hear from all of these students why they might be protesting the president of the United States, but they clearly didn't like the guy. They tolerated his presence at their graduation. So there's that. And returning to Biden's remarks here, what is democracy, he says, when you have to be 10 times better than everyone else to get a fair shot? This is what he says to these Morehouse College graduates, suggesting that because they're black, they have to work 10 times harder, 10 times in our racist country in order to succeed. Now, that is also verified. That's also something that we can check the facts on. So here are the facts. The average starting salary among college graduates across the country, the general population, doesn't matter what color you are, the average starting salary among college graduates as of this year is $68,516 a year. That's the average starting salary. The average starting salary for a graduate of Morehouse College is $76,543. In other words, 12% higher than the general population that graduates from college. 12% higher. You've got a leg up if you're a graduate of Morehouse College. You're not 10 times behind your peers who are graduating college. You're ahead of them. You're 12% ahead of them. In fact, based on the way corporate America does its hiring, if you're a graduate from Morehouse College, chances are your resume is being put near the top of the stack for hiring. With all of the immense pressure, the DEI type pressure, the diversity pressure, we have to hire black applicants, that type of thing going on in corporate America. It's an advantage. And you're just a goofball if you don't think that's the case. You're not following what's going on here. Among the top 20 employers for Morehouse College graduates, Deloitte Consulting, Major League Baseball, Cigna, the health insurance company, Lockheed Martin, McKinsey and Company, the Coca-Cola Company, Amazon, AT&T, Google, Creative Artists Agency. This is, I don't see Walmart greeter here. This is not what's happening. You are coming out with all sorts of advantages, and Morehouse College graduates are dominating. They're doing very well. Now, it's funny because Biden told so many lies, I won't be able to address all of them in the course of a 3-hour radio program. I'm sorry. I just can't get to all of them. But fact-checking Biden is a full-time job. In fact, I spent much of my day today doing that very thing. Here's another one for you. Biden claimed, now, despite the fact that you have Morehouse College graduates succeeding all over the place, Biden claims that he's surrounded inside the White House by Morehouse College graduates. Listen to this claim by Joe Biden yesterday morning.
I got more Morehouse men in the White House telling me what to do than I know what to do. You all think I'm kidding, don't you? You know I'm not. And it's the best thing that's happened to me.
Now, that's not true either. That is a lie. Not a single Morehouse College graduate works in the White House. Not a single one. A fact check on this concluded that the last Morehouse grad that did was Jamal Simmons, former communications director for Kamala Harris. Biden isn't surrounded by Morehouse men. He doesn't have any in the White House. These are this is the greatest density of Morehouse people that he's seen is in the room he was standing in yesterday. Or I guess it was outside. Standing outside at yesterday. He's never surrounded by Morehouse men. He keeps them at a distance. Big time. All right, more in a moment. It's just an endless parade of lies But it deserves to be called out. The press is not doing this. You're not watching the corporate media do this, by and large. They have no interest in fact-checking him. They're just trying to give him a glide path to re-election. I refuse to do that. So more in a moment. It's 3:21 now.
Most of all, what does it mean, as we've heard before, to be a black man who loves his country, even if it doesn't love him back in equal measure?
Some scattered applause for a deeply demented sentiment that the country doesn't love black people. They love the country, but they're not loved back. The country hates you, says Joe Biden. Mark in Virginia Beach, line 1. Mark, good afternoon. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hey, Vince. How are you, sir?
I'm doing all right.
Man, that speech is just so inflammatory, packed full of lies and race baiting to the max. That guy needed to be booed off the stage. He is a ridiculous joke of a president. You know, I lived through Jimmy Carter and all the rest up to today. None of them have even come close to how poorly this guy represents us as a country. He is a disgrace.
Disgrace is the word, Mark. I was just about to say he's disgraceful. And he never stops with the lies. Everything with him is lies. It's a non-stop. Like, here's another example. He lied again after Georgia passed a perfectly good voter integrity law, one in which more black people turned out to vote as a result of their vote being protected. Biden advanced this old lie.
Today in Georgia, they won't allow water to be available to you while you wait in line to vote in an election. What in the hell is that all about?
It's a lie is what it is. It's
I'm
a lie.
serious.
The law prevents electioneering. You can't hand out water bottles with people's names on them right by the door to the vote. Vote for Trump, vote for Biden with the right on the water bottle. You can bring a water bottle with you. Election workers can give you water. It's a lie. And it was disproven a long time ago. And it doesn't stop the White House. And remember, it's not just Biden. It's these ghouls in the White House who are writing these damn speeches for him. And they said, let's just lean into the lie again. Let's just keep lying to the American people about what's going on. And that really tells you everything, doesn't it? If he was a successful president, he'd be doing a lot of truth-telling about his record. But instead, he just tells a lot of lies because he has nothing else to run on. Divide you and lie to you. Don't fall for that crap, America. Coming up, the updates out of the Michael Cohen testimony today as he reveals that he's been stealing a ton of money from Donald Trump. So much for being loyal to the guy. He's a thief in addition to everything else. Joining us next, Mike Davis will react. Good afternoon to you. 3:35 here at News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. Coming up on the program, Gabriel Noronha joins us at the top of the hour. We talk about the death of the Iranian president, went down in a helicopter this weekend. Margot Cleveland will be with us at 4:30. We'll talk to her about the left's attacks on Justice Sam Alito and his family. And then Winsome Sears, the lieutenant governor of Virginia, joins us at 5:30. You can join us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. A lot of breaking news today out of New York, that ongoing Alvin Bragg-led witch hunt into Donald Trump. And here's one of the top items just from the last few seconds. The defense has begun calling witnesses. This is Donald Trump's team. And they're now going to be calling former Michael Cohen advisor Bob Costello to the stand. You'll remember last week he gave sworn testimony before Congress that Michael Cohen is nothing but a dirty liar, and that Cohen has been conducting all of this business with Stormy Daniels on his own and not keeping Donald Trump abreast, and admitted and basically revealed all sorts of really important details about Cohen's behavior during this critical time. If Bob Costello is about to testify, the jury's about to hear some very damaging information about Michael Cohen. Stack that on top of the fact that Cohen announced today, admitted today, that he has stolen at least $60,000 from the Trump organization, concealing that money, suggesting that that money was designed to actually be a payment to a tech firm. Instead, he was scraping off the top of that about $60,000 for himself. Didn't tell anybody. Doesn't sound very loyal to Trump, does he? Let's bring in Mike Davis now, founder and president of the Article 3 Project. He joins us on the phone. Mike, good to have you back with us, sir.
Thank you for having me.
This seems like a pivotal day in this trial. What do you make of it?
Well, I think this Michael Cohen testimony is very much blowing up in this Soros-funded Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg and this Biden senior political appointee Matthew Colangelo's faces. This guy is a convicted serial perjurer. He is a disbarred attorney. He's changed his story several times. He's raising money on TikTok, trashing Trump, and now we understand that he's embezzling from President Trump or stealing from President Trump. This is their star witness, and their case is falling apart. Unfortunately, I don't think that this matters because you have such a rigged process in New York with a corrupt Democrat Manhattan judge, Juan Merchan, who just got reprimanded for donating to Biden, and another anti-Trump cause in 2020, these illegal campaign contributions as a judge. His adult daughter, Lauren Michon, is raising millions of dollars off of this unprecedented criminal trial over which her father, Judge Juan Merchan, is presiding. That requires his recusal under New York statute. That's not just crazy Mike Davis saying that. A former federal Clinton judge said that on Caitlin Collins' show on CNN on April 5th. And, how did this judge respond? By expanding this illegal and unconstitutional gag order. This judge has too much to lose if he does not railroad President Trump and get a conviction here. His daughter's business is on the line. She's the one of the top fundraisers and political consultants to Biden, Kamala Harris, Adam Schiff, these Democrats. She has a lot of money at stake if he does not deliver for the Democrats. Remember what they did. They have this jury pool that already votes 87% for Joe Biden, and then they further rigged the jury selection process by bouncing potential jurors who follow Trump on social media, like the 3 people in Manhattan who follow Trump on social media, but didn't bounce the potential jurors who follow Biden. So even though this is a totally bogus case, both factually and legally, there's no crime here, I still think they're going to find him guilty.
The deck very stacked against President Trump, as you're so well putting out. But on this point that, if you got Michael Cohen admitting, how often does this happen? Where some specious crime has been charged against Donald Trump. Meanwhile, Michael Cohen admitted to an actual crime against Trump today, which, if it was inside the statute of limitations, could be considered grand larceny. He's stealing $60,000 from the guy. And this is, the case the prosecution has been making is that Michael Cohen and Donald Trump were in cahoots, that they were as thick as thieves, that Cohen was doing everything to be loyal to him, to fight for his advantages, when in fact he was screwing Donald Trump. And that's not going to help the prosecution's case at all.
No, look, that's one of their star witnesses, Michael Cohen. Their other star witness is a bimbo porn star, Stormy Daniels, who's changed her story several times. She testified that she hates Trump, and Michael Cohen's making money trashing Trump on TikTok. Stormy Daniels is making money peddling her porn site on Twitter. It's her pinned tweet on Twitter. This is insane that this is their case. And but again, I still think that this process is so rigged. They're still going to find Trump guilty.
So let me on the issue of it being rigged, especially the Biden administration involvement. You did, of course, mention the role that Matthew Colangelo is playing in this case, and that's critical, coming from the Justice Department right into this prosecution against Trump and Alvin Bragg's office. But there's another piece here that I hadn't thought of until I heard Andy McCarthy mention it earlier today on Fox. He said that normally that if a local prosecutor decided to prosecute elements of federal law on their own, that the United States Department of Justice would come flying in and say, you can't do that. This is not your jurisdiction to go after federal election law violations. That's the Justice Department's job. But the Justice Department is not doing that here. In fact, the Justice Department is allowing their jurisdiction to be impeded upon. Do you view that as an expression of the rigging that the Biden administration is doing?
Well, yeah, it's even worse than that. Not only does the Biden Justice Department not step in and say you don't have jurisdiction over federal election law, the Biden Justice Department actually deployed their number 3 official, or who was their number 3 official, acting number 3 official, Matthew Colangelo, to resurrect this zombie case that the prior Manhattan DA, Cy Vance, the Manhattan U.S. Attorney, the Federal Election Commission, and Alvin Bragg himself, the Soros-funded Manhattan DA who campaigned on getting Trump. This case was even too wild for Bragg until Colangelo deployed from the Biden Justice Department. And here we are in week 6 of this unprecedented criminal trial against a former and likely future president. And they have not even told the criminal defendants the legal allegations he faces in this trial. He has no idea how to defend himself because they have not explained to him how he has violated the law.
I mentioned at the outset that Robert Costello, is expected to testify here in moments on being called by President Trump's team. How important will his testimony be, do you think, to establishing that Michael Cohen is not to be trusted on anything here?
Well, I think that Costello's testimony is going to be devastating for Michael Cohen and this entire case. If you watch how he testified before the House, it should destroy the case, but unfortunately it won't, because we have such a rigged process in New York with a corrupt judge whose daughter is raising millions off this case, these partisan prosecutors funded by Soros, deployed by the Biden Justice Department, and a rigged jury selection process in a jury pool that's already overwhelmingly against Trump.
In fact, on that point, the jury. So as a technical matter, all you need is one juror not to go along with a conviction, right, to get a hung jury?
Yeah, that's true. But guess what? If there's a hung jury, Trump's already been in this courtroom instead of the campaign trail and illegally and unconstitutionally gagged for 2 months. They probably would love a hung jury with the Biden Justice Department, with President Biden, because then they can just retry him and put him back in that courtroom again for the next 2 months.
Now, and there are also a number of attorneys who are in the jury pool. It's either 2 or 3 of the jurors are actually themselves attorneys. How disruptive is it to have an attorney as a juror? Because I've heard other people claim that what happens is if you have a lawyer who is one of the jurors, sometimes they start to Bigfoot the rest of the jury. They say, well, look, as the lawyer, I know he's guilty because I've heard all of this and I've concluded with my expert legal opinion, the guy's guilty. You need to go with me.
Yeah, and I'm an attorney, and I realize what a pain in the butt attorneys are. They have giant, fragile egos, and they think that they're the smartest people in the room on every matter. So, if you are an attorney in Manhattan at a big law firm, you're not a conservative. You're not a Trump supporter. There's no way those big law firms would have hired you. Yeah.
There are 2 corporate lawyers, according to Reuters, on the panel. They live in the upscale Chelsea neighborhood. Yeah, these are not Trump voters. Let's just be honest. It's gonna be wild to see what happens. All right. Well, as always, Mike Davis, thank you very much for your time and for weighing in on this important case. I really hope it resolves well. But you are predicting doom. We'll see what happens.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's Mike Davis with the Article 3 Project. All right. So let's. I want to go over some of the revelations today. Of course, like I said, Bob Costello is set to testify imminently, which if we get any updates on that, we'll bring those to you. The other piece is this admission by Michael Cohen today that he stole $60,000 from Trump, from the Trump organization. And here's how it went down. The conversation was about money that Cohen told to the Trump organization that he wanted to pay to a tech firm called Redfinch. He said, I owe them $50,000. It was about, they were trying to, I think, whip up some support for Trump using a tech firm to help do it. You're allowed to make expenses like that. And he said $50,000. He ended up paying Redfinch just $20,000, meaning just in terms of pocketing the difference, he kept $30,000 for himself. But when they were doing these reimbursements to Cohen, they would do what's called a gross up. They would add extra money to help cover the taxes because the money was being considered income, and they wanted to pay him in full without the tax damage. So they would double all of the payments to him. So a $50,000 payment in reimbursement to Cohen becomes $100,000 as he files this as income. And thus, he stole $60,000 from the Trump organization. Today, defense attorney Todd Blanche asking, according to the court transcript, you stole from the Trump organization. Yes, Cohen said. You told multiple prosecutors in the district attorney's office that story? Yes, sir, Cohen answered. Did you ever have to plead guilty to larceny? Blanche asked. No, sir, Cohen replied. Have you paid back the Trump organization the money you stole from them? No, sir, says Cohen. So Cohen's straight up saying, yeah, I stole here. In fact, here's MSNBC. They went through reading the transcript today, perhaps duplicating some of what I just shared with you.
Let me read for you the exchange between Todd Blanche and Michael Cohen. So you only gave him $20,000 and you took $30,000. Blanche, you stole from the Trump organization, right? Cohen says, yes, sir. Blanche goes on later on. He says, you did steal from the Trump organization based upon the expected reimbursement, correct? And he says, yes, sir. So again, that is breaking it out because essentially they walked through what it is that Michael Cohen actually paid Renfridge. And this goes back to, Jose, what you were just talking about, in this brown paper bag, all cash.
In a brown
brown
paper bag. What is this, a drug deal?
An individual who worked for Renfridge to collect this payment, $20,000, in which Michael Cohen paid out to this individual. The other $30,000 Michael Cohen kept to himself. Subsequently, why Todd Blanche is now saying, okay, so you stole from the Trump organization, correct? And Michael Cohen says, yes, correct. I believe what during this cross we're trying to get at essentially here is even during this time in which Michael Cohen contends that he was very loyal to the Trump organization, protecting the former president, protecting his boss at the time, a man he has worked with for so long, right, since 2007, who is seen more as a father figure even, that he would then subsequently steal from him because he felt as if he was not getting the appropriate bonus that he was due, that he was expected, guys. Certainly a big exchange there, I have to say, a momentous kind of exchange between Michael Cohen, Todd Blanche. Michael Cohen says, yes, I, in fact, stole from the Trump organization.
In fact, if you were looking for a crime, you found one. CNN's Ellie Honig assessing today.
Michael Cohen explained this whole thing, quote, that's what was owed, and I didn't feel Mr. Trump deserved the difference. That's a lot different than I stole $60,000 from my boss on the transaction at the heart of this case. And by the way, the fact that he was never charged with larceny is important because stealing $60,000 through fraud, which would be larceny in New York State, is more serious of a crime than falsifying business records.
In fact, actually, let's go to the legal analysis on this because you may be wondering, if he's admitting to a crime, can't he be charged? If he's got $60,000, I stole it. He admitted on the stand. Did you steal from the Trump organization? Yes, I did, he says. A confession on the stand, under testimony. So what's the deal? Well, grand larceny in New York has a statute of limitations of 5 years. The crime alleged here would have occurred in around 2017. In other words, the statute of limitations has expired on grand larceny. But Ian Corzine, a former federal prosecutor and an attorney, he posted this analysis to X today. He says, fraud may very well be in bounds.
You know, a person at my office asked, could Michael Cohen still be charged for taking $30,000 from Donald Trump? And I told her, actually, yes, because of this unique part of New York state law. So Cohen could be charged with a whole bunch of crimes for, I guess, overcharging Trump $30,000. I have fraud, embezzlement, theft by deception, false pretenses, forgery, wire fraud, mail fraud, unjust enrichment. But I told her that I would also focus on the fraud count because it has the longest statute of limitation in New York. The time limitation for fraud is 6 years from the act of fraud, or more importantly, 2 years from discovery of the fraud. And there's a citation that I provide in this comment. Now, it's a little unclear from the trial testimony if this was the first time that Michael Cohen's fraud was discovered. But if it was, technically, New York prosecutors have until 2026 to bring fraud and other charges against Michael Cohen. So this admission by Michael Cohen was a big deal. My prediction is he's going to have big legal troubles going on after this.
Yeah, so there could be something coming for Michael Cohen. We'll see. Although, who would charge him? Is it Alvin Bragg? Maybe not. We'll keep you posted. It's 3:51 now. Oh, yeah, not everybody's handling Michael Cohen's testimony today very well. Lawrence O'Donnell over at MSNBC is coping. He's trying to rationalize it. It's not really stealing, he says. Remember, the question was, you stole from the Trump organization, said Trump's attorney. Yes, said Michael Cohen. Here's how Lawrence O'Donnell interpreted that.
He very effectively got Michael Cohen to agree that, yes, he stole $30,000. Later, when Cohen was asked about that on redirect by the prosecution, it didn't really sound like stealing $30,000. It sounded a lot like Michael Cohen doing the little that he could within that calculation to rebalance the bonus he thought he deserved, and it still came out as less than the bonus he thought he deserved and the bonus he'd gotten the year before.
He wanted to steal more, but he stole less, so that makes him a good person. Hey, MSNBC HR, I'm not usually in the business of giving you advice, but I might want to look a little closer at what Lawrence O'Donnell is filing as a business expense. He's asking for reimbursements like crazy. He's probably stealing from you if that's the kind of rationale he's using for Michael Cohen. He wasn't really stealing. He was just taking money that he thought he deserved. Coming up, Gabriel Noronha will be with us. Former State Department official and an advisor on Iran. He'll react, under President Trump, he'll react to the death of the Iranian president. Went down in a helicopter this weekend. And Gabriel Noronha tells us what to make of that news. It's ahead.